2018 fiscal year. I have prepared a short summary presentation. It's contained right under the first cover. I'll be happy to go over that now, which touches on some of the more important numbers and more important statements within your report, and then open it up for questions if you do have any. So we're going to be looking at the presentation first. First, just briefly, I do want to go over the audit process. Did you guys have one?
I know we sat in the meeting earlier.
Oh, I'm sorry. You guys, yeah, hang on one second.
I've got the 2 letters and the book. No problem.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. First, I just want to briefly go over the audit process. The audit process can be broken into 3 general phases. The first being the audit planning and risk assessment. This is when we come out sometime during mid-year, typically during the summer. We'll sit down, meet with city staff, we'll meet with the city finance, sit down, we'll meet with all the department heads, talk about what's been going on, do our internal control evaluations, make any recommendations that we do have at that time, and then put together our preliminary audit plan for the year. Next is the bulk of what we do. This is the audit fieldwork. This is when we're coming out after year end. We're looking at all of your material asset accounts, your liabilities, your revenues, expenditures, and ultimately concluding on your financial statements. And the final is the completion and reporting. That is the accumulation of any findings, the preparation of your financial report, and ultimately the presentation of that financial report to City Council and your acceptance. Next, I do want to point out the components of your annual financial report. First, we have the auditor's opinion. I am on page 5, followed by the management's discussion and analysis, followed by the basic financial statements, and then finally the required supplementary information. Next is what we consider to be the most important statement within your financial report. This is our independent auditor's report. This report can have 4 possible outcomes, the best being an unmodified opinion and the worst being an adverse opinion. We have issued an unmodified opinion on the city's financials. This is the highest level of assurance that we can give that these financial statements are free of any material misstatement and all footnotes are disclosed. Next, I do want to point out several financial highlights as of the end of the year. Total assets exceeded total liabilities by approximately $28.8 million. Your city's governmental funds reported combined ending fund balance deficit of $229,000. This was actually an increase of $656,000 over the prior year. Your unassigned fund balance within your general fund was a deficit of $419,000. And overall, the city had an increase in net position of about $826,000 for the year. Next is a summary of all of your governmental activities revenues. This is all revenues excluding your solid waste and water and sewer funds. Your total governmental revenues were $9.7 million, which increased about $1.3 million from the prior year. Your total property taxes were $5.3 million, which increased $215,000 from the prior year. Your total sales taxes were $2.2 million, which also increased $379,000 from the prior year. And your charges for services totaled $603,000, which also increased $124,000. Next is a summary of your governmental activities expenses. Total governmental expenses were approximately $10 million, which decreased $370,000 from the prior year. The 3 largest being public safety at $5 million, which decreased $313,000, followed by public works at $2.7 million, which decreased $40,000, and then finally your general government expenses totaled $1.4 million, which increased $64,000. Next is the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance for your governmental funds. This is your all funds excluding your proprietary funds, your water, sewer, and solid waste. The first number that you do see outlined is your net increase or decrease in your fund balance for the year for these funds. Starting on the left, your general fund did have an increase in fund balance of approximately $532,000, followed by debt service, which increased $23,000, and your total non-major funds cumulatively increased about $100,000. So the most important number that we typically look at here is your ending fund balance for your general fund. We do consider this to be important because the city wants to maintain an adequate reserve within your ending fund balance. The city did sit at a deficit of $419,000 within this fund. One positive note is that last year the deficit was $951,000, so the city did increase the fund balance by about $532,000. So a few more years with this sort of accounting, the city would be in fairly decent shape, but we'd certainly like to see the city trending in that direction. Next is your budget to actual for your general fund for the year. On the right hand side, you will see your positive or negative budget variance. The upper right number is a positive revenue variance of $324,000. So this means the city did receive about $324,000 more than your final budget. Below that, the city did have a positive expenditure variance of about $303,000, meaning the city expended about $303,000 less than your final budget. And those two numbers together, overall, the city did have a positive budget variance of $532,000 for the year. So assuming the city accomplished everything you intended to with this budget, and you also had positive revenue and expenditure variances and increased your fund balance by $532,000, overall it's a sign of a healthy fiscal year. Next is a statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in that position for your proprietary funds. This is your water and sewer and solid waste. These funds are different from your governmental funds in that they are required to have rates set at a level that will fund their operations, capital outlay, and debt service. So we typically look at the change in that position for the year. So are these funds losing money over time? Are they gaining money? Something if you see continual losses, you typically want to look at something's going on there. Maybe it's a rate adjustment or maybe it's an operation adjustment. You will see the water and sewer did have a decrease in net position of $682,000 this year. So the city does still have quite a healthy ending net position. So I'm not necessarily sure it's something to be concerned about, but it is something the city should look at and identify and pay attention to. Your solid waste fund had an increase in that position of about $22,000 from the prior year. So overall, that fund was in decent shape. That does conclude my formal presentation of some of the more important statements. But like I said, I will be happy to go over anything you like in more detail or answer any questions.
The report, who hasn't filled out the report yet?
I have one.
Okay, those need to get done because they were due today, so that's gonna put us behind
Did mine today.
on the, so they were due the 31st, so it has adverse effect on our deal. So as soon as you can get them to the proper, have you got yours? Audit paperwork. I know, we need to get them in.
Okay. We'll get you one.
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Two questions. What are your qualifications to do an audit for us?
Personally,
Yes.
I'm a CPA.
Okay. License.
Been auditing, yes, license.
Okay. Do you audit every department, period?
We do look at all departments. The extent of our procedures varies based off our risk assessment and activity. And,
But every
the
department
volume.
is dealt with.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions for Mr. Brooks over the audit draft? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Next report, thank you, Lamar.
Yes.
being from Mr. Zach Rowe with Whitley and